My dear people of God, we are on the 6th Sunday of the Easter season. The first two readings seem to give importance to the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ, on whom the foundation of the Catholic Church was laid by Jesus Christ. The apostles who carried on faithfully the legacy of Jesus Christ after the death and resurrection of their Master. Today we shall learn from the organization of the apostles in the times of difficulties. This was to be the way for the future church to follow whenever it faced some crisis or problem. In the first reading, we see that there arises a conflict within the church. There have always been conflict in the church. It's not something that's happening only in the present times, but right from the early church, there have been crises, conflicts in the church. But they have been solved or faced by the guidance of the Holy Spirit very intelligently. Let's see how did the apostles leave a legacy for the Catholic Church to follow in these times. The issue was regarding circumcision. The church was growing in numbers. There were several people, non-Jews, uncircumcised people, who became Christians. But then there were some people who began to confuse people. They said, unless you have yourselves circumcised in the tradition of Moses, you cannot be saved. This was a very big issue in the church. For the traditionalists, the mark of salvation was the circumcision and not the Trinitarian baptism. The apostles called for a council at Jerusalem. There were so many delegates at this council. They came, they discussed, deliberated upon, listened to the other, and discerned under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, finally took the decision. This was the correct method to be followed in times of crisis and deliberations. So the whole council was of one mind to say that there is no need of the circumcision for anyone to become a Christian or for the people to be saved. Only the Trinitarian baptism was sufficient. My dear people of God, Jesus, who founded this church on the apostles, never ever left the church. He has always been with the church. There have been and will always be crises, conflicts within the church, but Jesus has always remained faithful to His promise, as we find it in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 28, where He says, remember, I will be with you till the end of time. Jesus has always shown the church the right way to follow under the guidance and inspiration of the Holy Spirit. In today's times too, our Catholic Church always follows this legacy left by the apostles. Whenever it organizes or calls for a synod or an ecumenical council, there are so many delegates, not only from the church circles but also outsiders. The Catholic Church is not only made up of the Pope, the cardinals, the bishops and the priests, but we all lay people are the church, and therefore from you come several delegates to participate in these councils, to deliberate, as was done by the early church. We all have a duty to work for the welfare of our Catholic Church, to participate in her functioning, and to contribute to the church for its growth, and to follow the command of the risen Lord to go and make disciples. We all have a duty to support the church, not always to condemn her, but to encourage her, to be with her, to support her. My dear people of God, there will always arise crises, conflicts within the universal church, within the local church, and within our families. But the right method to face them and solve them is shown to us by the early church, by the apostles, and now followed by the Catholic Church, that we need to come together to discuss openly, to listen to the other, then discern through the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and then take the decision and solve the problem, as did the early church. And the crisis was solved. We all have solution in the church with Jesus Christ under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. May we all have this light of the Holy Spirit. May God bless each one of you.